Hello, welcome back to Idjit's Thoughts on Podcast. This is Paul Mackey. I thought I'd better get one more regular show in before the month of August starts. Dog Days of Podcasting 2024, the mostly Gravity Falls edition. I have 31 straight days of podcasting coming up starting Thursday and 29 episodes of Gravity Falls. Who knows what could happen the other 2 days? I sure don't. With Gravity Falls, I already wasn't sure if I could do Who Is bios for every episode, so there may be episodes without those. Though I do know a certain storyboard artist is going to be coming up in Season 2. That's right, I've been spoiled about a member of the art department, and I'm assuming some of you know who I mean. I've been meaning to shake up some things going into fall and winter. After Dog Days, I'm planning to also wrap up WizKids, and Muppets Mayhem can finish up too once my lovely wife Darcy is done with Wedding Dress Mayhem. That would leave 2 to 3 slots open for new shows alongside continuing Rockford Files episodes. You could press me to tell what kinds of things I might be seeing, but I won't tell. It could be anything under the sun and moon. That's all for the future, though. Today I'm getting one more Rockford done, and that is the Rockford Files Season 1, Episode 17, Claire. First aired January 31st, 1975. That day of note. Barry Manilow's single Mandy was certified gold that day, and John Lennon released Number 9 Dream. Meanwhile, on the charts, in the US, the number 1 song was Laughter in the Rain by Neil Sedaka, while over in the UK they had January by Pilot at number 1. For a second week, Murder on the Orient Express was tops at the box office. All right, a brief summary of this episode. A woman, Claire Prescott, emerges from Jack's on the Beach restaurant and is pursued by 2 men. They have a car chase, and the woman is able to run into her apartment building and tell the doorman to run interference before the men arrive. When the men go inside to look at the mailboxes to figure out the apartment number, the doorman calls her to let her know this is happening, but she refuses to let him call the police. She's ready to leave and continue running, but she pauses and calls Rockford. She's an ex of Jim's, and Rocky doesn't approve of her after she dumped Jim suddenly 3 years back. She tells Jim there are men who want to kill her, and he reluctantly agrees to meet her. When they meet at the LA Zoo, she doesn't get right around to who wants to kill her. She wants Jim to find a man called Charlie Manning, and she can't go to the police. She also says she only told him someone wanted to kill her, so he would show up. She says she's being leaned on by a loan shark, but she can't go to the cops, and she can handle it. She also insists he promised not to go to the cops. When they part, he drives his car about 20 feet to a phone booth and calls Lieutenant Becker. Becker mocks looking up both names in a computer and tells Jim he's got no information on Claire Prescott or Charlie Manning. When they hang up, Becker calls his captain and tells what Rockford asked. Captain Hyland tells Becker to bring Jim in ASAP. Rockford goes to Jack's place, as Claire instructed. After he asks about Manning, the 2 guys from the first sequence follow him out and tail him in their car. A brief chase, and they get him out of the car at gunpoint. Rockford tells the guys he's a PI and doing some collections work when business is slow. He implies Manning was in with a loan shark. They tell Rockford, after hitting him in, forcibly taking his wallet to check his ID, that no vice cop ever got in with loan sharks. They decide to, quote, take him to Tony, but he manages to beat both of them up and get their gun, then he gets their wallets. He takes the wallets to Becker, and Becker brings him to Captain Hyland. Hyland says Manning, an undercover cop, is overdue to check in with him. He works out Claire Prescott may be Rockford's client in the matter, and he says he wants to talk to her. When Jim leaves, the captain makes Becker try tailing him, and that goes swiftly wrong, leaving Becker with a flat and Jim with a good-natured grin at his rearview mirror. Jim goes to Claire's room and finds a note that she was too scared and had left. Rockford calls Hyland to tell him. Hyland once again threatens Jim with arrest. Back at the office, Claire has called and left a number where she tells him to meet her. He has Rocky drive away as a decoy so he can meet with Claire. Before he leaves, Jim answers a call from Becker. It seems Manning had been found shot to death, and Hyland figures Claire for the killer. When they meet, she tells the whole story about what's really going on. First off, Manning made her break up with Jim 3 years ago. She was unexpectedly mixed up running narcotics for her boss, being told it was just cash receipts. Manning, the undercover cop, caught her and threatened her with jail unless she worked undercover for him. She helped Manning put away a lot of people, and if they knew or if the cops found out and she had to testify, neither would bode well for her long-term health. Jim wants her to leave town. He's going to call Rocky to bring her cash to help her get gone. But at the other end of the line, the two thugs answer. They have Rocky hostage and want to trade Rocky for Claire. Rockford appears to reluctantly agree to meet near the Santa Monica Pier that night. He sends Claire on her way, then breaks a store window and steals a mannequin to stand in for her. At the meetup, Jim gets the thugs separated, then hits one, and he and Rocky make a break for it. After a chase under the pier with gunplay involved, the bad guys are subdued, and then the police arrive. As the captain repeatedly shouts at Rockford, asking where Claire is, he pleads ignorance, and she rides, coincidentally, by on a bus out of town.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Mr. Rockford, this is the Thomas Krause School of Dance and Contemporary Etiquette. We aren't going to call again. Now, you want these free lessons or what?
Who is? Well, it's difficult as I do have a hard time resisting the character actors. I'll note the two heavies in the episode. Lance Segault, playing Stone, later played Colonel Decker in pursuit of the group of fugitives known as the A-Team. Lane Smith, in the role of Willett, was in The Mighty Ducks as Coach Riley, and interestingly, played Perry White in the TV series Lois and Clark. And evening soap opera fans will recognize Linda Evans in the role of Claire, most famous for her role on Dynasty. Today, I will look at the bio of a different actor on this episode, in the role of Captain Hyland, Jackie Cooper. Jackie Cooper was born in Los Angeles in 1922. His father left his family when Jackie was 2 years old. His mother had siblings in the movie industry. He began acting at a young age and appeared in a few pictures before signing a 3-year contract with Hal Roach Studios, appearing in many of the R-Gang comedies. He appeared in the film Skippy and became the youngest actor to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Jackie was in high demand. MGM bought out his contract with Hal Roach in 1931, and he starred in The Champ alongside Wallace Beery, who won Best Actor for the picture and was uncle to Noah Beery, who I previously profiled, playing Rocky in this series. Jackie transitioned to adult roles and appeared in Ziegfeld Girl alongside Hedy Lamarr, Jimmy Stewart, Lana Turner, and Judy Garland in 1941. Jackie served in the Navy during World War II and remained a member of the Naval Reserves through 1982. After the war, he starred in TV sitcoms The People's Choice and Hennessy in the title role of the latter. He continued acting here and there in the 60s, but was also VP of Program Development at Screen Gems Television. In the 70s, he worked guest spots. Along with Rockford, he appeared on Columbo, Hawaii Five-0, and Kojak. He's probably best remembered by people of all ages as Perry White in the Superman movies of the 70s and 80s. Jackie retired in 1989 and trained racing horses at San Diego's Del Mar track. Jackie Cooper passed away in 2011 at the age of 88. Totally 70s. One more thing, along with smoking everywhere in phone booths, a scotch and water for 90 cents? Sure, adjusted for inflation, that's over $5, but wow. Artifactoids. You can see a Texaco service station in the opening credits, and it says the repair shop specializes in Datsuns. The Dat Motor Company was founded in 1914 using the initials of the 3 co-founders as their name. They initially produced trucks for the military market, and later, after a series of mergers, there was a law that said cars with engines smaller than 500cc could be driven without a license, so they began producing a car with a 495cc engine in 1930 called the Datsun, spelled S-O-N as in son of the dot. When Nissan Group took control in 1933, the last syllable was changed to S-U-N. After World War II, and after Japanese industries were returned to the Japanese control post-occupation, the Nissan name was seen as tarnished due to heavy involvement in the Japanese war machine. When the company wanted to enter the U.S. market, they sold Datsuns, not Nissans, starting in 1958. They continued selling primarily as Datsun through the early 1980s, at which point it was decided it was time to strengthen the Nissan name worldwide, where Honda and Toyota were already household names. There was an interim period in which cars were marketed as Datsun by Nissan. before the final switch to all Nissan branding in 1986. The Datsun name was repurposed by Nissan in 2012 for lower-cost cars made for smaller markets and continued for roughly 10 years before going out once again. So, what worked in this episode? I appreciated Rocky being more involved by choice or otherwise. The character has been in the episodes more and more, and this time he had strong opinions and was eventually forced to be part of the action. The foot chase under the pier was a particularly good sequence. What didn't work? It all felt a little disjointed to me, with Manning being dealt with 100% off-screen from first being mentioned all the way until his off-screen murder. Add to that the off-screen crime boss, and it all feels like they were trying to do this episode on the cheap, like they couldn't afford all the actors needed or something. So next time is Rockford Files Season 1, Episode 18, Say Goodbye to Jennifer. Boy, there's been a lot of goodbyes in this season. There was previously an exit and a farewell. And meanwhile, again, coming up in the month of August is Dog Days of Podcasting 2024, where I will mainly be covering Gravity Falls. So, until next time, happy hunting! You've been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with Nimlas Studios. Any short clips of audio from shows is included under fair use for commentary purposes, and copyright for that content remains with its original copyright holders. The theme song is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by his generous permission. One Idjit's Thoughts is produced under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can find more episodes of this podcast and many other fine podcasts at nimlas.org. You can contact me by emailing idjitcastpodcast@gmail.com or commenting on episodes at nimlas.org.
Let's make our own memories.
After all the ineptitude, it occurred to me the crime boss stooges were actually a bit like those other stooges. No, not the band from Michigan.